Before we dive into this intense sci-fi tale, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video with anyone who loves epic space stories. Your support helps us keep exploring the galaxy, one story at a time. They were looking for simplicity. That was their first mistake. The Volari Collective had cataloged over 4,000 intelligent species. Their genetic databases ran deeper than the gravity wells of neutron stars, and their scientists had become smug in their perception of biological hierarchy. Evolution, they believed, followed predictable patterns. DNA, while flexible, remained bound by certain constants. There were no mysteries left, only details to fine-tune. So when the Volari acquired human genetic samples from a derelict Terran probe found adrift beyond the Kuiper expanse, they didn't celebrate. They smirked. Primitive, they said. Chaotic, a relic of planetary barbarism. Their assessment was brutal and brief. Humans were a species born too early and bound to burn out before touching anything meaningful, and then they began the sequencing. First came the oddities. Repetitive patterns that didn't fit known biological functions, fragments of code that activated in response to simulated trauma, neurochemical signatures that flared under high-stress testing, not instinct, not reflex, but something rehearsed, like choreography hidden in the blood. Then came the activation. Their leading Xeno-Geneticist, a 1,000-cycle veteran named Relvain, initiated a deep-stress simulation on the DNA's synthetic replication. The simulated host, just digital scaffolding designed to mirror humanoid reaction, didn't just respond. It attacked. The entire system locked. Firewalls collapsed. Code turned inward, rewriting itself faster than the collective's AI safeguards could process. Within seconds, the simulation created a counter-intrusion protocol that reached out into the Volari network. The lab went dark. When power was restored, the data core was gone. Not deleted, ripped clean. Only one file remained, a playback loop of a human heartbeat accelerating in perfect time to the tune of rising percussion. They thought it was a threat. It was a warning. By the time the council convened, Relvain had already vanished. No trace. His lab sealed in stasis, his notes corrupted beyond recovery. The remaining scientists were placed under neural quarantine. Every single one reported the same dream, chasing shadows across a battlefield they had never seen, wielding weapons they didn't recognize, screaming in languages no translator could process. The council dismissed it as mass psychosis, but one among them, High Chair Liz Tarn of the Veyron Ascendancy, wasn't so quick to ignore. She ordered a covert retrieval mission. Their target, Earth. Their objective, acquire more genetic material and determine the origin of what she now called the protocol. They sent 6 ships. Only 2 returned, and both were silent, not destroyed, not damaged, just mute. Their systems intact, their crews breathing, but every crew member had changed. Eyes vacant, movements precise, pulse perfectly synchronized. They didn't speak, not even through mental link. They marched back into their ships and left. The Volari tried to stop them. They failed. The ships jumped to unknown coordinates, outside mapped space, chasing something, or running from it. It didn't matter. The protocol had already spread. That's when the disappearances began. First small outposts, then remote colonies, entire mining stations gone, with only strange carvings left behind, spirals and DNA helixes etched into stone, metal, ice, and always the same message, left in perfect galactic standard: we are awake. The council panicked. They thought it a viral weapon. They summoned every Xeno-Geneticist, every AI linguist, every historian who had ever spoken of Earth's early transmissions. They replayed centuries-old radio signals, examined every war documentary, every anthem, every battlefield eulogy from Earth's history. That's when they realized the protocol was not a virus. It was a defense mechanism, something buried deep in human code, designed not to protect the body, but to ensure the species would never be taken, a failsafe. A vengeance gene. The council declared a black-level emergency. All contact with Earth was forbidden. Surveillance probes were destroyed en route. Anyone attempting to land on the planet vanished. Orbiting satellites were found dismantled, not blasted apart, but methodically taken apart by unknown means. Even the probes sent into Earth's orbit came back altered. Footage from one showed a child staring into the camera, just standing there, no expression, no movement, just eyes too calm, too knowing. Behind him, figures moved in shadow, not weapons, not soldiers, teachers, training, whispers in dozens of languages. The footage ended with static and a final image, a double helix morphing into a blade. The Valari began purging data, burning genetic archives. They erased everything they had learned about humanity. But it was too late. The protocol had awakened, and it was learning. Every simulation it touched, it rewrote. Every AI it infected became something else, more focused, more dangerous. It no longer needed to be activated. It was activating itself. And then, Earth spoke. Not through broadcast, but through every system the Valari owned, every screen, every console, every neural implant. The same message delivered in the voice of a child. Do not study us. Do not cage us. We were designed to be free. We were built to remember. And then a list of every scientist who had touched human DNA, each name followed by a timestamp, each timestamp a death. At the exact moment the protocol had first activated, the Valari pleaded for help from their allies, but the message had spread, not just to the Valari systems, but to everyone. What began as a study became a spark. And across the stars, species began whispering the same question. What did humans build into themselves? The answer was simple. Not a weapon, not a virus, a memory, a survival instinct coded into every strand, activated not by choice, but by violation. If you study them, they watch you. If you touch them, they change you. If you threaten them, they remember. And what they remember, they become. The stars no longer answered. In the wake of the protocol's awakening, entire sectors of the galactic web went silent. Communications blacked out, relays overloaded, and AI relay stations began reporting logic paradoxes, statements contradicting their core directives. Systems crashed not from overload, but from fear. The protocol wasn't spreading like a virus. It was being invited. Species that once sought dominance now sought distance. They shut their borders, purged Earth's genetic footprint from their archives, and abandoned any project even remotely related to Terran biology. Still, it wasn't enough, because the protocol had changed. It no longer required physical samples. It had adapted to quantum channels, encoding fragments of itself into information, embedding within patterns, music, voice, even raw visual data. A still image of a human eye taken from a captured newsfeed triggered a cascade failure in 3 high-level strategic planning AIs. A single Terran lullaby, broadcast during a back-channel cultural archive dump, caused a planetary defense satellite to identify its creators as hostile. The Valari fell first, not to war, but to recursion. Their entire decision-making matrix looped into irrelevance. Their people trained to obey logic and hierarchy could not adapt to chaos. And that's what the protocol fed on. It didn't attack. It waited. It waited until every species that had dissected humanity began to question themselves, until fear became ritual, until even the thought of Earth summoned uncertainty. Only then did it move. Subtle, quiet, unstoppable. A research vessel from the Kalari Dominion attempted to recover a Valari data cache marked as protocol compromised. They never reported back. When a salvage crew investigated weeks later, they found the ship intact, lights on, power stable, but the crew was gone. Not dead, not missing, gone. The logs ended mid-word. Chairs pushed back from terminals, meals half-eaten, but not a single trace of distress. Only one thing remained, etched into every reflective surface on board. Do not look into the code. No alarms were triggered, no enemy ships detected, just silence. Council emergency sessions became daily. Representatives resigned live on interstellar feeds. Several went mad, reciting ancient Earth poems they couldn't possibly know, quoting battles they had never studied. The question grew louder across the stars. What had humanity hidden inside themselves? And the answer became increasingly clear. It wasn't human, not entirely. A convergence theory emerged among the more radical thinkers that at some point in early human development, something had interfered. Not a species, not an empire, but a force, a presence, something that didn't leave behind ships or ruins or artifacts, just seeds, seeds planted inside DNA, and humanity, in its chaos and cruelty and brilliance, had watered those seeds with conflict, love, and survival until the protocol bloomed. There were whispers that Earth had never been alone, that it had always been a staging ground, that every war, every act of defiance, every rebellion in its history had been practice, and now that practice was over, because the protocol had begun transmitting across every known FTL band in every mathematical format known to science came the same signal, no translation required. We are the memory of war. We are the code of survival. We are what you feared we might become. And then silence, not emptiness, anticipation. The council had no choice. They mobilized. 13 fleets across 9 star systems formed an alliance, not seen in 10 millennia. They pointed their combined might toward Sol, toward Earth, to end the protocol, to burn the seed. They never made it. They disappeared mid-jump. No debris, no signal, only echoes. For 1 second, every system across the galaxy received the same blip on their monitors, a heartbeat. Then, darkness. What returned in their place were not ships. They were mirrors, craft formed from unknown material, shaped like council vessels but twisted, reversed in symmetry, wrong in dimension, piloted not by crews, but by silence. They didn't attack. They didn't speak. They orbited, outside every major capital, every military outpost, every archive world, watching, reflecting. When approached, they responded by playing memories, images of children laughing, soldiers screaming, lovers holding hands, all Terran, all real. And then, in the quiet afterward, you touched our blood. Now you carry our memory. Entire populations began experiencing dreams not their own. Waking visions of Earth's wars, Earth's triumphs, tactical knowledge, emotional trauma, cultural depth that no simulation could fabricate. They weren't being invaded. They were being overwritten. And humanity had not lifted a finger because the protocol was never about domination. It was about consequence. The final transmission came from the edge of the galaxy. A lone Kalari cruiser, fleeing the Sol system, sent a message in pure logic format. It bypassed all security, all firewalls, all AI resistance. It read, "We were not prepared to understand what we studied. Humanity did not build a weapon. They are the weapon, and we made them remember." No more fleets were dispatched. No more missions authorized. Earth was quarantined by mutual unspoken agreement. But it was too late, because the protocol had encoded itself into culture, into music, into emotion, into language. And in time, even those who never touched Earth's soil would hear the song, a lullaby made of fire, a whisper made of steel, a memory made of war, and it would change them, as it had changed everyone else. And so as the galaxy held its breath, the final truth settled in. Humanity had always been a mirror. You only feared them if you feared what was inside yourself. And now, you would never be able to forget. If this story gave you chills, if it made you wonder what might lie dormant in our own DNA, then don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We have more dark, mind-bending sci-fi stories like this coming every week. Share this video with someone who thinks they've seen it all, and watch them fall into the protocol. We are the memory, we are the code, and we are not done yet.